It's coffee time. Do I have to take that bag away from you? Hold on. No, you don't get this anymore. I'm surprised you're not terrified of this by now. So last night, let me tell you a story. Oh my goodness. If I can figure out how to fold this bag. Yes, did it like an adult that goes to the grocery store. Okay, so last night at like 2 in the morning, I'm dead asleep, right? And I hear her playing on that bag. She loves paper bags, loves them. She just sits in them. But I was hearing this bag like a lot, as though she was just frantically playing with it. So obviously that woke me up. And I got up because it sounded like she was getting closer to my room, but it was, that bag sound was so crazy. Like it was just all over the place. I was like, what is happening out there? So I get up, I come into the living room. She's running in circles because she's these little handles. She had put her body through one of these and then proceeded to try desperately to get away. So she was running all over my living room, couldn't get away from this paper bag. I was like, what is happening to you? She was like, ah! And then she finally got out of it. I was laughing. I was like trying to help her, but she was scared of me too because I was like chasing after her. So she was just like, ugh. She finally got out of the hole, like figured out what was wrong, and then just stared at it and walked away. You know how cats can get kind of like a weird embarrassed look? She like got a little embarrassed and then just walked away. I was like, okay. But she's playing with it again today, so I guess she's fine with the paper bag. I don't even know. Okay, I have a thing to actually talk about today. I know, you're shocked. It's not just going to be cats and butts and Google searches. It's going to be like, so a lot of you have been sending me messages on Tumblr specifically about how a myriad of things that all have kind of the same conclusion. I'm working on finals and I'm stressed out and I don't know what to do to keep myself from stressing too much. Or I'm working a bunch of jobs and going to school, but I love it all and I'm trying not to get burned out. Or I'm just working way too much, but I don't know how to stop working so much. All of these things are sort of like my brain can't handle everything that I'm trying to do right now, right? So now let's step forward into this morning. Maker is big. Maker is a big place with a lot of people. I don't know everybody there anymore. I used to, but I don't know everybody anymore. There's turnaround going on all the time, so there are new people around all the time. And this morning, I'm talking with one of the people I work with. We're talking about just life in general. I was saying that I made dinner last night and that it was a horrible disaster, which I can, if I have time, I can tell you about that. It was a dinner went awful, but it was fine. And I said this too. It was fine because it was a home-cooked meal. I love to cook, so I got like the emotional happiness out of it, and it tasted good in the end. So I got the yum yum yums out of it. So I was talking about that, and then we were talking about work. And I was saying that there are some days where I feel like there's so much to do that I have to kind of decide what can wait, right? Where I have to say to myself, how can I make sure that I don't get burned out, that I'm not just working all the time? And this guy came out of nowhere, but it was like he had been listening to the entire conversation. This guy pops up and says, well, it sounds like you've made the choices where you don't have the luxury of making yourself dinner then. And I was like, I'm sorry? And he said, well, you know, if you have so much work to do, you don't really have the luxury of making yourself dinner. I was like, who is this guy? But, but more than that, my reaction was, I'm sorry, do you, like dinner is something that makes me very happy. It helps me kind of recharge. It gives me energy. You know, it's something that is not work, but is still productive, that makes me happy. And he was like, right, but you have work to do. So why would you take the time to make dinner? And it got me thinking. I've been thinking about it all morning. And I was thinking about all of the messages that you guys have sent me. And it's this weird disconnect that happens sometimes where we feel like it's more important to get our career work done than to work on ourselves, than to take the time to make sure that we're okay, right? Isn't that strange? We do it all the time. And I did it all the time in college. I was not healthy in college. I was not extremely happy in college either because I was putting all of the work that I needed to do above myself always, 100% of the time. And it was exhausting, and it was mentally exhausting. And I didn't get into it with this guy because I was like, even though you've been eavesdropping and apparently know everything that's been said, I have no interest in having an argument with a person I don't know. So I was just like, okay, well, have a great day, guy, person. Um, but it's something that has to be done. You have to take the time. You have to make the time. The same way that you have to make the time to get things done that are work related, you have to take the time to work on this, to clean this up. Because even though we're organisms, we're mammals, but we're also machines in a very real sense. We are machines. And remember me talking about my computer that I hadn't cleaned and how disgusting it was? Like, popping that open, I was like, what have I done? Because there was dirt everywhere. It still worked. It worked okay, but it didn't work great. And if it continued that way, it would work worse and worse and worse and worse. And we are the same way. You have to take a minute and you have to clean up here. You have to do something that refreshes you, that makes you feel happy, even if it's just sitting, like just writing down in your planner, 15-minute meeting. And guess what? That meeting's with you. It's just you with yourself, having a meeting with yourself. And that's okay. You shouldn't feel guilty about that because you need that. You need it. We all need that. And unlike machines, unlike computers and things like that, we don't need upgrades to learn how to do something better, right? We can up our efficiency. We can learn how to do better at things and be better at things. But that doesn't mean that we ever stop needing sleep or ever stop needing food or ever stop needing just peace and quiet for a few minutes, like just something to help us recharge and feel better. Because like specifically with those of you who said, I love what I'm doing. I love my work. I love what I'm studying in school. All of it is fantastic. But I'm worried that if I keep doing it as hard as I'm doing it right now, I'm gonna burn myself out. I'm not gonna love it as much. Like, that's terrifying. And that was kind of what happened with me in theater for a while there. Like I took almost every class I could in theater, and I was doing multiple plays at a time. I was designing and acting and so many projects all at the same time, and I loved it. But at the same time, I got to a point where it was just too much. It was way too much, and I didn't know how to pull back. But you gotta figure out what are the big things, the things that you know you need to focus on, and what are the things that you want to be able to do, but it's at the expense of your personal health, right? Oh man, when that guy said that, I was like, what? No, there is never an amount of work. There should never be a point where you are working so much that you can't take a minute to make yourself dinner. Never. Maybe there are days when you can't make yourself dinner. Sure. I have days where I'm like, nope, it's not happening. I'm ordering in. I've got too much to do. Or you just don't feel like it. Like, that's a luxury too, maybe. Just like, it would make me feel a lot better. It would recharge me? A pizza. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, there should never be a point where you say, I never have time to do something that makes me feel relaxed or that makes me happy. Never. No. You can have days where you're working really hard, but you've got to take time to work on this and clean this out. Yeah? Just dust it. Just dust it a little. Make sure everything's still doing okay. you've got a basement in there where a lot of crazy weird stuff is going on, and maybe you don't want to like look in there, and that's fine. But, you know, just make sure that the stuff in the basement isn't crawling out and you can't see it because there's too much dust. Is this metaphor getting too real? Like, is it getting too weird and convoluted? It makes sense to me, but that's kind of how I always split up my brain. Is, you know, there's the stuff in the attic that's like, that's all the stuff that makes me really happy, but it's stuff that I can't do all the time, right? It's just stuff that's there. I can go up there sometimes and I can play around with all the stuff that I know that I like, that will always make me happy. And then, you know, there's just the main house, which is where I'm always at. That's where I do all my work. I do all my work and I do my daily routines and I do all those activities. And then there's the basement where all of the like awful stuff is, right? All of the stuff where I'm like, I don't want to think about that every day. It's there. I can tap into that if I want to, but I don't want to think about it every day. And like every now and then, stuff in the basement just crawls out and I don't realize it. And then I'm like, why am I in such an awful mood today? And it's because I wasn't paying attention to my own mental health, right? And there are all of these things from the basement that are just like hanging out. I'm like, oh, I need to address this. It's not that you should just push those things in the basement and not deal with them. It's that when they do come out, you need to be able to address it, right? There can't be so much going on that you literally can't figure out, like, why am I so upset about this? Or why did this bother me so much? You need to be able to sit and take note of what is going on in your own brain. Because that's when there's buildup and you blow up. You freak out about something. You're like, why did I let it get to this level? It's because you didn't take a minute, you know? So hopefully that made sense. But man, that guy, I hope you watch my video, dude. I hope you watch this video and I hope that that metaphor wasn't so convoluted that you walk away going, well, I learned nothing. And maybe he was a troll. Maybe he was just like, I know how to rile this girl up. It worked. You dummy, it worked. But yeah, so those are my feelings on that. Take a minute to feel like a human. You don't always have to be a working robot. You can be a human sometimes, and that's okay. Anywho, I'm going to go work. On that note, I'm going to go work. But I hope that you guys had an amazing day, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Mwah!